Let's return to Gaza, where there have been intense Israeli strikes in the north. Our correspondent Tareq Azzoum is joining us live from Deir Al Balah in central Gaza. And Tareq, just in the last few minutes, we have been looking at pictures of what look like huge explosions, massive plumes of smoke. What are you hearing about what's happening in the northern part of the Strip?
Yeah, we are getting more alarming reports from the city of Beit Hanun in the northern part of Gaza about a series of deadly airstrikes being launched by the Israeli military in that area that has been one of the closest cities to the Israeli communities. We understand that Israeli warplanes conducted some sort of dozens of airstrikes on residential areas in the eastern end of the city that's possibly close to the buffer zone that the Israeli military is currently operating and controlling. This intensification, as we understand, Elizabeth, comes after the series of military ambushes being conducted by Palestinian armed factions against the Israeli maneuvering troops in the city that has been multiply attacked and invaded by the Israeli ground forces. It has been some sort of significant destruction inflicted upon that area that has turned into a lifeless wasteland, and the Israeli military announced since the early months of its military genocide in Gaza that they managed to successfully and militarily erase the area and declare it as a clean zone. But later we have really got some sort of confrontations erupting again between armed factions and the Israeli occupation forces in this area. It's worth noting that this area right now does not witness any kind of residential presence, where civilians have got forced displacement orders since day one of the war on Gaza. And I'm personally from that town that has witnessed some significant military escalation, and it's worth noting that the entire city has been heavily bombed by Israeli artillery, by warplanes and by also ground forces who have effectively operated in the area, destroying what's left of residential homes. But the situation is escalating elsewhere in the Strip as the momentum of the Israeli military aerial and ground operations is getting much more higher as the time passes.
Yeah, Tareq, I remember there were forced displacement orders by the Israeli military yesterday for the north of Gaza, and even before these explosions that we've been looking at pictures of in the last 20 minutes or so, today has been a particularly deadly day in Gaza.
Yeah, it has been a very rocky day for civilians in the northern part of Gaza. This area has been an active epicenter for the latest round of aerial and ground attacks. In the past hour, we have seen a very devastating Israeli attack on 2 residential homes in Jabalia, Al Balah town, killing at least 15 Palestinians. But till now, it has been 2 hours since the strike took place, and civilians, along with the civil defense members, are trying to look for survivors. As initial expectations suggest that 20 Palestinians remain missing under the debris of these destroyed buildings. But elsewhere in the Strip, there has been a really pivotal concentration around the Jabalia refugee camp in the city of Beit Lahia. These areas have been repeatedly targeted by the Israeli military. Different displacement orders were given for families to flee to the western end of Gaza City. But what has been so controversial is the surge of airstrikes on areas that people were told to go to in order to get safe and away from the Israeli bombardment. One of the latest, Elizabeth, was on Ashati refugee camp, where a group of civilians has been struck in a very densely populated area. 7 Palestinians were killed and more than 20 others reported injured, varying and sustaining different kinds of injuries in the heads and the legs, and they were transported to the Al Ahli Arab Hospital to receive emergency treatment. But in the south, we can see the skyline of the city of Khan Yunis is presumably covered with different kinds of thick black smoke coming from destroyed buildings, and reflects the scale of ground operations taking place in the city. We have visited it yesterday, and the situation there on the ground was extremely developing. We have heard different gunshots, different kinds of artillery attacks on residential homes, and civilians are being squeezed and crushed into at the so-called the safe zone Al-Mawasi area at the western end of the city of Khan Yunis. So on the ground, we can see that no sign of abating for the pace and the intensity of Israeli ground operation, as the humanitarian situation across the entire Gaza Strip has taken a very devastating turn, complicating the entire aggravating humanitarian and security conditions on the ground, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and Al-Mawasi itself was attacked yesterday, wasn't it, Tareq? For now, that is Tareq Abu Azzoum with all the latest, joining us live from Deir Al Balah in central Gaza. Thank you.